So talk to me about how sometimes you were even the intimacy coordinator in some of the scenes. Like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimidators, which we did have. Thank goodness.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen that?
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think. Yeah.
I think that, romance is really important. You're supposed to, tell a story.
Hear my prayer, O God, and listen to my plea, because strangers are attacking me, and violent people are trying to take my life. People who have no fear of God, but God is my helper and he keeps me alive. May the evil plans of my enemies turn against them as you promised. Put an end to them. I will sacrifice a voluntary offering to you, and I will praise your name, O Lord. It is good, because you have rescued me from my troubles and helped me triumph over my enemies. What is clear is that he put other people's names in his prayers, praying over Joy, Kendra, his mom, and even his 7-year-old son. He views himself as being under attack by enemies and believes this is all just an injustice. The delusions of this cult have taught him that it is never his fault, but always the fault of the victim, and anyone who lives outside their world is considered wicked and evil. So law enforcement and social services are seen as spiritual attackers. This mindset allows him to avoid taking responsibility for anyone or anything, even though Kendra said she trusts him and believes he is competent. The reality is much darker, because within the EvilP ideology, women are stripped of their identity and told their only role is to be a wife, and they are discouraged from seeking higher education or jobs. Because having an individual identity is labeled as selfish, they are taught that mental health struggles are a result of secret sins, and that seeking help from psychologists or psychiatrists is satanic and wicked, because those professionals do not have God in them. Bill Gothard tells them that every ailment can be cured by fixing a specific sin, which leads women to suffer from deep depression and anxiety without ever getting real medical care. They are told that a sick and tortured wife is common, and that they must stay under the authority of their husband to be holy. Joseph uses biblical stories like Exodus to warn Kendra about boundaries, telling her not to be like Aaron, who was easily influenced, but to keep her mouth shut and maintain personal boundaries, which is just a manipulative way to ensure she does not disclose the abuse or illegal activities happening in their marriage. He reinforces that everyone in the family loves him, and that they are all grieving the situation, to ensure her loyalty remains with him rather than her own well-being. The cult uses love bombing as a tool for control, making individuals feel supported while actually isolating them from the real world and forcing them to obey the patriarchal structure, where the husband acts as the direct link to God and the wife has no voice of her own. This cycle of brainwashing and dependency is passed down to the children who grow up without life skills or the ability to think critically, because their entire world is built around these twisted teachings. They are encouraged to have as many children as possible to multiply the believers, but these children are being raised by ill-equipped and indoctrinated parents who view any outside intervention as a declaration of war against their faith. When Kendra mentions having a support team, she is really talking about the family members who are coaching her on what to say to authorities to protect the cult, and its secrets, rather than helping her heal her mental health struggles, are used as a way to keep her vulnerable and susceptible to manipulation, because a healthy and independent woman would be a threat to the entire system. Joseph keeps her trapped by using guilt and spiritual fear, making her feel like any step toward independence is a violation of her marriage covenant and a sin against God himself. This is how they justify the unjustifiable and cover up the crimes committed within their circle, keeping everyone silent through a mixture of fear, religious obligation, and the false promise of divine protection, while the outside world watches in horror at the destruction of individual lives, for the sake of a radical and dangerous ideology that refuses to acknowledge the basic human rights of its members, especially the women and children who have no way out without losing everything they have ever known. The psychological grip of the EvilP on its followers is designed to be total and unwavering, leaving no room for individual thought or personal agency, as Joseph continues to use religious texts to justify his actions and control Kendra. He creates a vacuum where only his voice and the voice of the cult leaders can be heard. The concept of authority is used as a weapon to silence any dissent and ensure that the women remain in a state of perpetual adolescence. never fully maturing into independent adults who can make their own decisions or seek help for the trauma they have endured. The meeting on the 23rd with child services and law enforcement was not just a legal hurdle for them, but a battlefield where they used their spiritual programming to deflect any accountability by framing the investigators as agents of evil or outsiders who cannot understand their holy lifestyle. They effectively shut down any possibility of genuine reform or protection for the children involved. Michelle Duggar, being present at the meeting, served as a powerful reinforcement of the cult's rules, reminding Kendra that her primary duty is to stand by her husband regardless of the crimes or abuses that may have occurred. Because in their world, protecting the family image is more important than the safety of the individuals within it. The coaching Kendra receives from the sisters and sisters-in-law is not about her mental well-being, but about maintaining the narrative that everything is a spiritual attack, and that they must all circle the wagons to protect Joseph from the consequences of his actions. She is told that her nausea and inability to eat are not signs of extreme stress or trauma, but tests of her faith that she must overcome through prayer and further submission to the patriarchal structure of the family. The use of basic care pamphlets and Gothard's teachings on medical ailments further isolates them from real-world help, because they are led to believe that a doctor would only provide satanic solutions like medication or therapy that would lead them away from God. This creates a cycle of suffering where the women become increasingly sick and depressed, but are told that their illness is a reflection of their own lack of faith or some hidden sin they have not yet confessed, leading to a state of constant guilt and self-loathing that makes them even easier to manipulate. The children in the system are the ultimate victims, as they are raised without any exposure to the outside world or the skills necessary to survive if they ever chose to leave. They are taught that their only value lies in their obedience to the cult and their ability to reproduce and expand the ranks of the true believers. While any desire for personal identity or education is crushed as a form of pride and rebellion against God's will, the cycle of abuse is thus normalized and passed down through generations, with each new wave of children being even more disconnected from reality than the last, as they are taught that the world is a dark and dangerous place and that only within the walls of the cult can they find safety and salvation. Despite the clear evidence of harm and exploitation occurring within their ranks, the leadership continues to play God over the lives of thousands of people, using fear and manipulation to keep them in line and ensure that the dark secrets of the organization remain hidden from the eyes of the law and the public at large, because they know that if the truth were ever fully revealed, it would mean the end of their power and the destruction of the kingdom they have built on the broken lives of their followers. And so the manipulation continues through every phone call, every meeting, and every prayer, as they twist the words of the Bible to serve their own ends and keep their victims trapped in a prison of their own making, where they are told that their chains are actually a blessing from heaven and that their suffering is the only path to true holiness, while the real world looks on with a mixture of pity and anger at the systematic destruction of human potential for the sake of a radical and dangerous delusion that has no place in a civilized society. And yet they persist in their mission to multiply and infect everything around them with their toxic ideology, ensuring that the legacy of Bill Gothard and Jim Bob Duggar will continue to haunt future generations, unless a concerted effort is made to break the cycle and provide a way out for those who are currently trapped within its grasp. But for now, the silence remains as Kendra and Joseph continue to play their parts in the tragic drama that has become their life, unaware of the true depth of the deception they are living in or the damage they are doing to themselves and their children, in the name of a God who would never demand such cruelty or sacrifice from those he claims to love and cherish above all else.